Hello and welcome to the Discipler Training International Discipleship Training Video Tours. This is one video in a series that provides an overview of the Phase 1 curriculum that is a part of the Tool for Personal Discipleship, the foundation of DTI. To effectively watch these training videos, you will want to have the lessons printed. You can print them from our website, www.disciplers.org. Our desire is that God will make you into an effective spiritual parent and that your life will be multiplied many times over. Thanks. Lesson 111B is a diagram depicting the two paths a Christian can take as they walk in their spiritual life. The upper path represents the believer who acknowledges his lordship and enters the spiritual promised land. The lower path represents the believer who chooses to manage his own life, which leads into a spiritual desert experience. The believer in the upper path sees the Lord as master. The believer on the bottom has not acknowledged the lordship of Christ in his or her life. Therefore, the Holy Spirit doesn't have the freedom to produce His fruit through their life as He would like to. Abiding is represented by the dark line under the number 3. Each dip in the line represents a period of time when the believer is living out of fellowship with the Holy Spirit. On one occasion, King David was out of fellowship for about 9 months. As soon as he confessed his sin, he was immediately restored into fellowship. Did David still suffer consequences? When you're out of fellowship with the Holy Spirit, He is not free to produce His fruit. The life of the tree is not flowing through the branch when we are out of fellowship. Typically, the believer who has chosen to live in a spiritual desert is focused on behavior. That believer is living according to his own limited human understanding, trusting in his own capabilities rather than trusting the Lord to determine what is best for him. As long as they feel they can handle things, these believers don't rely on God for direction. However, when they are not able to cope with circumstances, they typically will call out to the Lord for help. They see God as the divine 911. God, help me. Once they consider themselves capable of handling things, they usually begin again to neglect the Lord and resume walking according to their own understanding. While the believer is residing in a spiritual desert, the Holy Spirit is hindered from producing His fruit through the believer. God will often allow crisis in the believer's life in order to convince the believer to admit his own incapability and acknowledge His lordship. At the reward ceremony of Christ, there will not be punishment of any kind. However, the believer will experience the loss of rewards that the Lord had desired to give him had the believer been willing to allow the Holy Spirit to direct his life.